go!
The time has come.
From Oasis Game Studios and published by THQ Nordic comes the video game adaptation of Monkey King Hero is Back, an action game with some exploration and a hint of RPG to mix it up. The plot tells the story of Monkey King Sun Wukong and how he roamed freely until he enraged and defied the gods to the point of defeating the entire celestial army. After this event, he had been imprisoned by Buddha in a kind of endless hibernation inside a rock made of ice that had been placed in an uncertain place within the mountains.
The defeated Dashong spent the next 500 years entombed in a cold crystal in Mount Huaguo.
500 years after this event, a small village is attacked, and a monk boy with a baby in charge flees to the mountains. When lost in the forest, Lure stumbles and falls into a cave with a gigantic rock full of ice in the middle, and accidentally frees the Monkey King from his curse. This is where it all starts and where the player takes action once Lure falls into the cave and lures enemies into it. The whole game is packed with simple combat mechanics with just two different types of combos, which can make the whole game quite repetitive. However, along its course, some new techniques will be learned. At his disposal, the player will have the possibility to use defensive and offensive techniques. In the context of offensive, it is possible to summon a bench, which allows you to attack both melee and shoot it to hit an enemy out of range. The possibility of summoning spikes that can also be thrown over long distance, and in terms of area damage, the use of firepower that explodes when dealing area damage, even in relatively small area. Unfortunately, the game sometimes misuses these skills. The aiming system sometimes becomes confusing and inaccurate, giving the feeling that the character sometimes gets stuck in motion. The game also features some techniques not focused on damage, but rather in helping the player, as for example the ability to move faster or easing the task of finding hidden objects, such as items to exchange for artifacts or elixirs in store, as well as Earth Gods. Earth Gods are used to evolve player stats. There are three possibilities, which is to increase combo damage, increase health bar, and lastly, increase the yellow bar designated for skill use. For these last two, they are not regenerated over time. The player will have to face the enemies in order for them to release health regeneration orbs, mana regeneration orbs, and points orbs, as a bargaining chip to evolve their skills. One of the most positive points is undoubtedly the level of graphic detail presented, the depth, sense, and the vivid colors. Unfortunately, the same cannot be said of the voice acting. After a few clashes in which you can hear enemies each time enemies are spotted, or a cutscene that don't make much sense, it's annoying to say the least.
Make sure we get it, right?
This is a title that is digested in lack of involvement on occasion by the characters. Although with a combat system that shows the lack of something to connect with the player, voice acting a little clumsy and empty, this is a title that lists about 6 to 7 hours long. The story, although told in these conditions, is interesting, and it's the point that can pull the player to finish this title.